had been 3 years of painful applications and many closed doors that I received an email from Dr. Bernard Kanoi. He's a senior researcher at the Center for Malaria Elimination in Mount Kenya University. Yeah, and in the email, he had actually indicated that I was recommended by Professor Naomi Maina. Yeah, I had met Professor Naomi during my master's program in PhD. She was the molecular biology and biotechnology course coordinator. Yeah, we had a pleasant relationship, and at that point, I realized that your networks are important. The people who are around you at any point in your career are very important, as well as how you carry out yourself in various aspects of work or even in any part of your career generally. Yeah, so I was recommended by Prof. Naomi, and I was excited about this opportunity. And I actually now met Dr. Kanoi in Mount Kenya University. It was actually an informal kind of an interview where I was asked many questions concerning my BSc background, my master's background, my research work up to date, my wet lab skills, and he definitely mentioned that the program was on malaria research, and he wanted also to understand if I was interested in malaria because from my background I had only done work in cervical cancer and human papillomavirus. Yeah, so I was interested because at the end of the day, what really matters is the skills, the lab skills, the interest in research, because all those can be applied in any particular disease. Yeah, so we had the informal interview, which went very well. And also at the meeting, I realized that Prof. Naomi had also recommended another lady. So it was actually a battle between me and her. Well, I don't know her, but I knew for sure that however I had presented myself during this informal interview would really determine whether I got to get the opportunity. But I was happy that something was actually looking up at this point, and I was hopeful that things would work out. So I went back home, and within the course of that month, I was attending a workshop in Mombasa, and during the workshop, on a particular morning is when I received the email. Not actually an email, he actually called me and told me that he had decided to give me the offer, and so if I would take it. Yeah, so at that point I told him I'm excited about the opportunity, but I was to get back to him on whether I accept or not. And I know you're wondering, how would you get an opportunity, get an offer, and then you say that you're going to think about it? But of course, at this stage of my life, I had a family, so I needed to also inform my husband about it. And also, honestly, there was also something I wasn't sure about. I had several checkboxes concerning my career and my PhD opportunity. And so when this one showed up, I looked against my checkboxes and I realized that some important checkboxes were not aligning. So excited about the opportunity, but unsure if it was the best thing to take the offer. And I don't know if anyone has been in that position where you've been in waiting for opportunities. You've not probably also had, maybe even it's a job that you haven't, secured in a long time, and you get this opportunity that doesn't exactly give you the things that you feel are important, but then you're like, okay, I haven't had any opportunity. So should I say no? Should I say yes? Will things get better in the process? Or should I take this and if any other thing comes up? In that place of not being very sure. So I was in that place, unfortunately. because there's also what I was looking at ahead, and I was a bit afraid on what was going to unfold. But all the same, here I was, an offer in my hands. Was I to say no or yes? Now, about those checkboxes, we won't discuss them in this episode. That will be episode 4, where I will be defining the checkboxes I had concerning this opportunity, and probably I'll allow you to be the judge to see whether it was worth to pick an opportunity that did not exactly tick the checkboxes. So I did take the opportunity, and I was actually to start in a few weeks because I was to start in August, and I was very enthusiastic. So I reported in August in MKU, and I was very ready for the journey, and I was excited actually. So I reported very enthusiastic, very ready. And if you know me, I'm usually a very diligent person, so I had put my best foot forward. I know sometimes I can be a workaholic, yeah, but I think I really did my best. So just to mention that I joined this project that was on vaccines, identifying and prioritizing vaccines against malaria in pregnancy, or what we call placental malaria vaccines. So I joined into this project, but my PI, who was now my supervisor, Dr. Kanoi, had already started this project while he was in Japan. So he had some data already for the first objective. Yeah, so I joined in, and the first responsibility I had was read through the proposal that had already been developed, understand the big picture, and start analyzing the already existing and data. Yeah, so it was getting into research, and your hands and feet are already in, literally. So analysis wasn't easy because we were doing R programming. I had previously done some bioinformatics a bit, at master's level, mainly theory, not really practical. Yeah. And in my MSc program, I had actually analyzed my data using other programs like SPSS and all that. So I had not really gotten into bioinformatics as such. So this was a deep dive. Yeah, it was exciting but overwhelming. But then I also got a bit fortunate because we had a colleague called Sebastian Musundi, a bioinformatician who was very, very helpful. And I want to give a shout out to him. He really helped me because he helped me get like what you call an analysis plan, like what pipelines were we going to use. He helped me to develop the R program scripts, then run the association analysis, perform principal component analysis, differential analysis, etc. It was really a fast-paced season. And I remember you said joined in August, and by the time we were in November, we had done so much. We used to leave the workplace very late. I would work even at home. I would go continue with the codes at home, And maybe just to give a clear picture of the scientific background of what we were doing, we were to identify some antigen targets of immunity. The samples had been collected from pregnant women, so we were analyzing immunoscreening data to identify antigen targets that are able to give immunity against malaria in pregnancy, and that way have them as candidates for production of vaccines. So I'm going to put a small video of presentation I did in one of the conferences that gives you a small snippet into the program objectives and especially that first part of the research where we were isolating and trying to identify the antigen targets. So after now, we do the analysis, make sure we've gotten strong candidates. That is the only time that now we could use this particular target to do functional assays, that would involve, first of all, producing the antigens, then producing the antibodies using a mice or rabbit model, then use these antibodies now to test the vaccine capability in vitro, that is on malaria culture, to do growth inhibition assay to see if your antibody is able to inhibit the growth of the malaria parasite and eventually call it a vaccine candidate. So it was quite a lot, yeah. And I remember now getting the strong candidates was the biggest challenge, because we do analysis, get some candidates, then when we do elimination of confounding factors, then they all disappear and we no longer have any candidates, So we also had to do a lot of machine learning, training our models. I know that's a lot of science that probably might be complicated, but that season of analysis was really hectic. Very, very, very hectic. So essentially, that meant that the whole of 2023, now from August 2022 to the end of 2022 into 2023, we were essentially just narrowing down. And so to just back up this whole narrowing down process, we had to do a lot of literature reviewing and journal reading. I had to do a lot of supervisor consultations. I had to also engage in expert discussions from also other senior researchers, and we did a lot of R programming. I can actually say that in this age of AI, at least I can code. Yeah, I think that also helped me in my career. Then at this point also, what also helped me within the year 2023 is that I also did my proposal defense for my PhD. I was doing now a PhD in molecular biology at the biological science department in the School of Pure and Applied Sciences. So I did my defense, which also helped me refine the project better. We also did a lot of seminars in-house and out in conferences and other workshops that helped, because in those conferences you have other experts in the same field. That also helped me to get a better direction on how to also narrow down. So by the time we were coming to the end of 2023, we actually had been able to optimize our models, and we had selected 3 antigens. That these antigens are malaria parasite antigens. We had already been able to select 3 of them, and now could help us move into the next stage of producing them, immunizing rabbits to get the antibodies, and then doing malaria cultures and testing on them. Now, just to prep myself for the next stage, my direct supervisor, that is Dr. Kanoi, also gave me an opportunity to go and train. And Dr. Lucy Ochola, big up to Dr. Lucy. She really was patient with me. She's from IPR, that is the Institute for Primate Research, although today it's called the KIPRE, Kenya Institute of Primate Research. So she really helped me to start on learning how to use models. We were using mice models for not necessarily for placental malaria vaccines, for other work. So I was there under her guidance, and I was engaged in some laboratory work, and also she introduced me to malaria cultures. That was in November, December of 2023. And then I got another opportunity in January, February of 2024, where we had an opportunity for a 1-month Sakura exchange program in Japan. We went to Japan, and from there we were able to extensively do malaria cultures as well as do protein production process, because I needed to also produce the antigens. And by the time we were coming back from Japan, I already had an antibody against one of the antigens. We were not able to produce the 3 of them because of financial constraints. And we had at least one antibody, and of course, deep training on malaria cultures. And the challenge now was come back to Kenya in MKU and make a malaria culture system, because there was no malaria cultures going on. So we were to set it up, to build it up from scratch. Yeah, and I actually have done a video on the setting up of the malaria cultures. So I'm going to just attach it here for you to see, because now in actually in 2024, we were now building and setting up malaria cultures. It wasn't easy, but I wasn't alone. We were doing this together with Mark. And then I also had great support from my supervisor, Dr. Kanoi, and also the director of Center for Malaria Elimination, and also my university supervisor, Dr. Purity. And I also want to say thank you to Professor Clement. He helped us to get the very first parasite strain called WE from Cambridge, Kisumu. At that time, we had started with field isolates, and then they were filling and the cultures were dying. He helped us get a few vials of WE, and then later we had Dr. Kiboy from JKUAT helping us with some parasites, and that really helped us to kickstart our culture journey. So you need to watch the video for more details. Now, by 2024 July, remember we already got our 3 antigens. So I had already started writing my first publication. So I had a publication which we sent out in July. Yeah, for journal consideration. So July 2024, at least I submitted my first paper. For you to graduate as a PhD student, you have to have 2 papers published. So that was a great milestone. I was able to submit that by July of 2024. Yeah, so now 2024, mainly setting up the malaria cultures and making sure they work. And by December of 2024, yeah, we had cultures running, and they still are even to date. Now in 2025, now we were then ready to test the antibody that I had come with from Japan, and we were going to do an assay we call growth inhibition assay. This simply is to test your antibody to see its ability to inhibit the growth of the malaria parasite in culture. Yeah, this was another headache. There was a lot of optimizing, repeating, troubleshooting, and the pressure was a lot. Especially because this particular project was also time bound, and we were running out of time. So there was a lot of pressure from funders. There was a lot of pressure from my supervisors. I had also personal pressure to finish the lab work and write my PhD manuscript and all that. So there was a lot of disappointment, fatigue, and doubt, and I was wondering if it's actually going to work out. But I pushed, and I think what I have learned through the process is that research is never straightforward, honestly. Yeah, many things happen along the way, many pivot journeys also happen along the way. So we did that GIA, that is a growth inhibition assay, and it did not work. There's a lot of inconsistencies. But then in research, we normally say that even negative results are results. So we had a small pivot when this did not work as we had expected. So with the guidance of my supervisors, we decided to also conduct a review. This was to help us map all the placental vaccine candidates that had been, published so far from across the world. Yeah, we wanted to understand how have been the journey, how are the researchers characterizing them, are they facing any challenges, just to see if our challenges were similar and maybe see what could have been the solution. Yeah, and that is now where we say that sometimes science is not just about proving that something is actually working. It's also trying to understand why it has not worked this far, because we do not have any vaccines against malaria during pregnancy. Yeah, so we did the review and in 2025, and it is actually already submitted for publication. Yeah, and we are hopeful that it will come out soon. Yeah, so essentially, once that is done, I think in my next episode, I'm going to talk about now the process of writing my PhD thesis, as well as the checkboxes that we talked about. So I will say we end it there. Yeah, we meet in our next